Hi guys, my name is Nicolette Mashile. It is a cold one in Johannesburg, South Africa. So a warm hello to you wherever you are. If you are feeling warm, I am indeed absolutely cold. I've got my heater on and it's not really working as well as I would like it to be. For some people, I'm known as the financial bunny, and today we're going to be talking about some debt reduction strategies. And one of those methods we're going to be talking about is the Snowball Method. Now remember that nothing I say here constitutes as financial advice. If you are looking for financial advice, please speak to somebody who is certified and registered with the FSCA. Now, very important to understand is when it comes to debt, it can be psychologically crippling, right? You can feel like you are a little bit stuck when it comes to your debt because you don't know what to do with it. And one of the biggest or niftiest tricks that I kind of learned over the years when I was dealing with debts a couple of years ago is that you actually need to understand your situation. A lot of us know that we're in debt. We know we've got a car loan, we've got a couple of credit cards, we might have a personal loan, we might have some store cards, some old gym membership that we didn't really pay off, maybe a contract here and there that we didn't honor. And we do know, we are well aware of the debt that we've got. We don't really fully understand how much debt we've got and what is the actual cost of the debt. Because I think one of the things that a lot of us don't realize that every single debt that you've got comes with a cost. And that cost is always expressed as a percentage and known to many people as the interest rate. Remember, I spoke about in one of the other videos that the interest rate basically is like the rental amount of money that you're going to be paying to have this credit facility that has been advanced to you. So a lot of people don't really realize that there is a cost to actually having debt. And many people, again, I'm speaking to a lot of many people today, don't actually have a good idea or a precise idea, an accurate idea of how much their debt actually is. And that's what I want us to start at today. That is the starting point. If you are going to be looking to reduce your debt, to manage your debt a little bit better, one of the first few things that you need to do is get well inclined and become intimate, crawl into bed, spoon with your debt and actually get an understanding of what your debt is. Yes, this might sound a little counterintuitive, counterproductive to a lot of people, especially somebody that was possibly listening earlier on when we were talking about how debt is a psychological thing. Why would you want to think so intimately about something that you're trying to run away from? But when you know how much you actually owe, you start to get a little bit of control because you know what your options are and what you can and cannot do. I think for a lot of us, when you don't know, that's when you have a fear of the unknown. So rather know exactly what you are dealing with so that you can get into those numbers and really get your hands dirty in terms of starting to reduce your debt. Now, debt strategies have various ways, and there's different ways in which we can reduce debt, dependent also on the type of person you are. And I know this might sound a little silly, but the reality is your personality will speak to how you actually reduce debt. I know many people will say, yeah, that sounds a little weird, but it's a fact. If you are a highly motivated person, then you would go with the debt strategies that have a motivation attached to them, like the Snowball Method, where you are paying off your little debts first, and as you are rolling, you're getting more momentum and more momentum to pay the bigger debts. So imagine a snowball. Of course, if you are in Africa, you might not have had the opportunity to play around with snow, unless of course you are from Lesotho and you go to Afri-Ski. But in a South African context, perhaps, or in an African context, perhaps what you can use is cow dung. Cows really, or even hay, or if you've lived in the stables, you can use hay or sheep if you have livestock, right? If you start rolling a little thing and you keep rolling it, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And that little snowball starts to become a snow boulder. It becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And it starts to gain more momentum, right? A small snowball will probably roll slower than a big snowball, right? And that's really the idea around the Snowball Method, is that you start with the little debts and you start rolling them and you are paying off the little debt, and you're getting motivation as you are going, because once you pay off a debt, that should be motivating you to try the next one, right? So that's why I say sometimes it's about your personality, the type of person that you are. If motivation is something that you want, then that's all right. If simplicity is what you want, you might look at something like debt consolidation, where you are now bringing all your debts under one roof and you are managing one specific debt. So what they will do is you would go and apply at a credit lender for a debt consolidation loan. Just make sure, of course, that you still have the affordability and the credit score to be able to get a new, kind of like a refinancing loan. So what the debt consolidation loan will do is that it will go and settle your other many debts and will bring them all under one debt. So now you will be paying one specific credit lender for debts that have already kind of been settled in actual fact, but they have not really been settled because you've actually just refinanced them with one loan. So again, that is now if your personality is looking for simplicity. And that's why I say there's different debt reduction methods for different people. So know thyself. Many of us do not know thyself. And then we hear about people talking about different types of debt reduction strategies, and we want to give those a try too. But the reality is that it doesn't always work like that. The other last one that I want to speak a little bit about is the avalanche, right? The avalanche method. And basically, an avalanche method is that if you build your debts and you stack them up, it's also called stacking. You stack up your debts either from the highest one or the most expensive one. So the highest one, we're talking about outstanding balance, and generally for a lot of us it probably is our home loan, if you do have a home loan, and then the other debts will come, probably your car, maybe a personal loan, then a credit card, store cards, and so on and forth, right? Or it could be the most expensive debt that you've got. And the expensive debt could be the debt that has the highest interest rate. And generally, these are your unsecured lending. So you could stack your debts also up like that. And you start actually knocking your debts from the bottom. And as an avalanche also does, if you knock it from the bottom, it comes crumbling down. So again, that is another strategy that you can work out. But I think also the last one that maybe I can just tap a little bit into is one by Garrett Ganderson, and it's called the cash index. It's cash flow index strategy. And basically he says that some of the debts that we've got might not necessarily have a large outstanding balance, but they've got a high interest rate. And if you match those two and you actually work out how much of your money goes to that debt, the cash flow percentage is quite high. So you can then look at your different debts, and there's a score that you would get. And if your cash flow index is one on the high side of life, you would pay off those debts first, because the more you pay those debts off, the more money you get to actually release. So for instance, you might have a debt that has a very high outstanding balance, but also has a high interest rate. And when it's calculated per month, you might be paying a huge amount of money. Now, if you can pay off that debt as quickly as possible, you are now freeing up quite a huge amount of money that you can now put into other debts. So I think those are some of the debt management strategies and debt reduction strategies that you can use. But at the end of the day, I think one of the things that I would like to bring up is the fact that you do need to honor your debts. So debt management is one of the things that needs to be efficient, but also done very well, because it has dire consequences when you do not honor your credit agreements. Remember, it takes a knock at your credit rating. And your credit rating, yes, maybe you say, I want a debt-free life, so I don't care about credit rating anymore, but then you would be paying your debts if you didn't care. So maybe perhaps something does happen to you and you don't prioritize paying off your debts or honoring your credit agreements. Just remember that one day you might need to have access to credit, and good credit at that, and you don't want to be exploited by any financial institution that might offer you a very high interest rate only because you have a bad credit rating. So really honoring your credit agreements is also just it's a legal thing. An agreement is a contract. So you have to actually honor it. You've got to pay back. So make sure that you do honor your credit agreements and you do manage your debt well, but also as efficiently as possible. The other thing I must just remind you of is that each and every single debt has what is called a management account fee. And if you bring all your debts under one roof, you're only paying one management fee. And that could be a difference between you finishing off that store card, because if you got 6, 7 and they all charged at 60 rand, that's a good 300 and something, or 300 and something, 400 or 500 and something that you are spending just on account management fees that you could potentially be putting into one of your debts and really making big differences in how much you pay off your debt. So make sure, and if that doesn't work out, the one other thing that I want to bring you to, because you see, I can't stop talking, is restructure your debt. But we'll speak about that in another video. Mwah.